one of the most frequently performed choral works in history, and perhaps the single greatest tribute to the Savior, Jesus Christ. Handel's Messiah has stood the test of time, from its inaugural performance in 1742 down to the present day. And for the residents of Holladay, Utah, Messiah has become a signature community event, kicking off the Christmas season for all who attend. In 1992, Stake President Alonzo Hinckley and his wife Stephanie set the stage for what would rapidly become a cherished tradition.
In considering what to do at Christmas, I knew we had the potential in this stake to do something wonderful, and I promised him that I would see that there was good music while he was serving. And so, with the inspiration of Scott Miller, a wonderful tenor, we decided to present Messiah.
We really love the Messiah together. We ought to try to do a Messiah and see if the stake president would allow that to happen. Well, her husband, Lon Hinckley, was the stake president.
Stephanie did everything. She was the committee. She did the recruiting of all the orchestra and all the conductors and soloists and everything. And now it takes us an entire committee to do what Stephanie Hinckley was able to do by herself.
It started very small. In fact, in our chapel, we took out maybe one or two benches at that time to make room for the orchestra.
Subsequently, it grew as we incorporated additional individuals, both for conducting and for directing, and it added an orchestra and some other parts of that.
Our first years, we had just a few people. Our orchestra was about probably 16 to 18 people. Now it's at least twice that. Last year when I did a count, and I haven't done a count yet this year, we had over 1,300 people that have participated in just our choir and our orchestra.
Within a few years, members of the Holladay Stake joined forces with the United Church of Christ and Highland High School music professor Paul Christensen.
When we got Paul Christensen and joined with the United Church of Christ, that's when things really began to take off.
My initial attraction was the music, of course, but also Mr. Christensen, who taught music at Highland High School, but I was too shy to ever try out for any of his groups. So this was my chance to be with Mr. C.
The United Church of Christ joined with us, and we would sing one concert at their church in the morning and then come that night and perform here at the Stake Center.
I can still see Reverend Michael Jackson coming across the sanctuary and giving me with his robes flying and giving me a great big hug. There's a lot of wonderful memories about the people at that church.
And there was a spiritual kind of an entity, a unifying of both these churches together. And I think it was a great event.
As the Messiah tradition experienced tremendous growth year over year, it was not immune from growing pains, including finding an adequate venue for the choir, the orchestra, and the audience.
Year after year, as the orchestra got bigger, we had to take out more and more benches, so there was less seating for the audience. And the acoustics were very different, like you had a very different sound in the chapel versus in the cultural hall.
We were beating up the chapel as we did this because we had to take all the chairs out and everything. It was really taking a toll on the chapel.
So many holes in the rostrum, we couldn't, it just wasn't going to work any longer. And so we wanted to expand the choir and the orchestra and the audience.
At that time, Melanie Hamilton, Paul Christensen, who was in charge of the choir, myself, we came into the cultural hall to see where we could maybe hold it here. At that time, Bishop Manning was the bishop of the Second Ward, but he was also principal of Olympus High School.
Dear Mark Manning, who basically made sure that this new Olympus High School was built and this beautiful performing arts center, he made it possible for us to move into Olympus High School.
We knew that there were more people in the area that would come to this if we had a better environment. So the last few years when we've been able to do it at the high school, we've just seen the attendance go up and up and up to over 1,300.
A key ingredient to the success of the Holladay Messiah tradition is the level of talent the committee has been able to consistently secure year after year.
To have Jack Ashton as our conductor has just been a delight.
He expects perfection, so you give it. We come and try to make it everything that Handel would have wanted it to be.
There are many, community Messiah rehearsals where they'll ask you, oh, will you just come play the Messiah, and you just maybe run through it once and then play for the performance. Where this one, we rehearse. Things I think with a community where you can say, oh, it's just a community orchestra. We don't have to work on this.
Yeah.
He'll stop and say, we need to work on this. And even when it seems a little bit rough during our practices and rehearsals, but it seems to all come together for the performance.
I would categorize myself as just sort of an average singer. I'm not a soloist. But when you have just average abilities, but you sing with a group like this, you feel world class. So
Talent and dedication are crucial, but the true miracle lies in Handel's majestic composition, a work that appeals to the world at large as well as to individual hearts and minds.
I think Handel speaks to the soul.
The scriptures that are sung about are just so powerful.
In Messiah, we have about an hour and a half summary of his entire life and his mission.
For me, it's what makes the Christmas season.
I think every year there's a piece of music that touches me in a different way.
Worthy is the Lamb.
Yeah.
It's my absolute favorite.
And the glory of the Lord.
One of my very favorites is All We Like Sheep.
The tenor sings, thy rebuke hath broken his heart.
The trumpet shall sound. And I think the whole audience loves that with the soloist, Bob Taylor, and he's tremendous. And I think everybody waits for that song to come also.
I know that my Redeemer liveth. At times when I've needed to know that, the music has been there. And so I love those kinds of messages.
I think the most important reason why we do this is because I believe the Lord is pleased when we sing his praises.
On behalf of the Holladay community, we hope you've enjoyed this look back as we look forward to tonight's 25th anniversary performance of Handel's Messiah.